Hey, this is Rahul and how's it going everyone? I know I haven't been able to upload videos for a while, but we'll be soon back on the wheels. I'm having some health issues. In the meantime, we can do some videos discussing topics. This is something not related to motorcycles, but I've been answering questions on this topic for the last 2 years. I've researched on that topic, and today we're going to tell you about the vlogging camera buying guide. Now there's a lot of videos on YouTube, a lot of misleading or conflicting information, so I decided to make my own guide. And disclosure, I do shoot on a Sony a7 III. That is my camera. It's a full frame camera. It's not the best camera for vlogging. Three different parts that we're going to divide this video into. First part is going to be targeting the prerequisites of a great vlogging camera. So even if you're watching this video in 2020 or 2022, if you know these things, if your camera checks out these boxes, then it's going to be the good camera for vlogging. The second part is going to be actually targeting some of the vlogging cameras. Finally, I'll be giving you, like, if your channel has some special parts, some cinematography, some photography on the sides, so what kind of camera you need apart from vlogging, maybe why one camera that will do both the things. Things that you need on a vlogging camera is a fast and reliable autofocus, and the reason is that while you're vlogging, you're probably doing handheld or on a tripod, but you won't have somebody to adjust the focus for you. The two brands that are upfront on this, Canon, because of their dual phase detection autofocus. So if you're buying a Canon camera, make sure that model has the dual phase detection AF. Now anything starting from $500, 35 or 40,000 rupees on the Canon lineup has dual phase detection autofocus. For Sony, most of their APS-C cameras have phase detection autofocus. Make sure it's not dual phase detection but single phase detection, but they have multiple AF points, like 400 plus AF points on the APS-C bodies. My Sony a7 III is over 690 points on the AF phase detection points, so it covers the frame. It does a pretty good job comparable to the Canon. So these are the two most reliable brands for AF. Fuji's there, but they don't have a flip screen, and Panasonic not really that reliable in the AF game. Now the second thing your camera needs is a flip screen, maybe a top flip screen or a side flip screen. They both have their advantages and disadvantages. We'll talk about that a bit later. The third thing is a mic jack, an external mic jack. This is absolutely required because all cameras have inbuilt bad audio. That's why I don't recommend point and shoot cameras for vlogging, because none of them, as far as I know up till now, have that mic jack thing. You're watching this video in future and some point and shoot cameras come up which has flip screen, fast and reliable autofocus and mic jack, it can become a good vlogging camera. Now the fourth thing is stabilization. And this is important if you do a lot of walking shots while walking vlogging. Stabilization is very important. Again, Panasonic and some other brands have done really good, like Olympus, in the stabilization. Unfortunately, they don't have fast and reliable autofocus because they have a contrast detection system. If this is all flying over your head, don't worry about that. Know one thing: Panasonic has good stabilization, but they don't have good autofocus. That's why they never make it to the top of the vlogging game. Weight is an important factor. Full frame cameras and DSLRs are on the heavy side. Point and shoot and mirrorless are on the lighter side. So I recommend going mirrorless whenever you can. Again, Panasonic is lighter, but they don't have that autofocus. Sony's APS-C cameras, the a6000 series, the a6400, a6500, a6600, these are around 400 grams of weight. One of the lightest cameras to have such a large APS-C size sensor. Now if you don't know about sensor sizes, quick recap: full frame is the biggest size of sensor, APS-C is like slightly smaller size than that, and then there comes in the 1-inch sensor cameras, and then the less than 1 inch, the 7/8 inch, whatever they call it on the GoPros and all. Bigger sensor means better low light performance, better image quality, and they don't have crop factor, so you can get a wider lens easier. APS-C is the balance because they are also lightweight, especially if you're looking at a mirrorless APS-C like the Sony a6400. Moving ahead, image quality is very important. Again, full frame is the best, but APS-C stands like a good compromise between weight, image quality, and my seventh point, the budget. Full frames again going to cost you somewhere around $1,500, $2,000, or even more than that. So APS-C remains supreme. And other features, this is very important for vlogging. Some people need it, some people don't need it based on your cinematic shooting style. The first thing is obviously slow motion. Do you require slow motion in your vlogs? You know, Peter McKinnon does a lot of B-roll. Most of it is dependent on a 120 FPS slow motion. Sony's cameras have that in 1080 resolution, 1080p, 120 FPS. Canon's best cameras still haven't done anything more than 720p, 120 FPS, so that's a bummer. Most of them are still stuck at 1080 60p, which is not that good for B-roll, to be very honest. So Sony has a very big advantage if you're going to shoot B-roll, especially their slow motion video quality is really crisp. Again, Panasonic with its G85, GH5 level cameras have excellent slow motion, going up to 180 FPS, which is better than 120. But again, they don't have that autofocus thing, so that always gives them the cripple. Headphone jack. This is not what most people require, but some people require a headphone jack to listen to the audio, especially if you have a friend who can monitor the audio, but not my first recommendation. Low light performance is another thing, which is again APS-C is a good balance. Full frame is the best, but remember, you'll gain so much in weight, it'll be heavy to carry around in the hand, and it hurts because I vlog out of a full frame camera. I definitely know how much it hurts. Color science is somewhere where you don't know that much about post-production, so you need the basic camera in-camera colors to work. Canon and Sony both are doing a good job. Sony's older generation cameras weren't so good, but the new A6400, A6100 and the A6600, the latest flagship, all have good color science, and so does my A7 III. Blurry background is something where you have a faster lens like an f1.4, f2.8 or f1.8, whatever. You use that lens to get somewhat blurry background. It separates the subject from the background. It makes the image look more pleasing. People focus more on you, and sometimes when your background's beautiful, you don't need that, but sometimes it is absolutely needed, like now when the background's got nothing of interest. So their full frame again comes in handy, but APS-C with a fast lens like the Sony A6400 with the Sigma 16mm f1.4 lens might be really good. So blurry background is something that we're looking at. And finally, time-lapse and other features. Most cameras these days do have it, but Panasonic and Canon have really good time-lapse features. Currently Sony has also caught up with time-lapses. Then we have to take in one more thing, that's the lens. For vlogging, you need a really wide view. Most people like that because in a wider lens the stabilization looks to be more, because the zoomed out you are, the less the shakes appear. So that's why, and you show a lot of your background and it looks like someone else is shooting you even if the camera is too close. So if you're really close to the camera, it doesn't really look good if you're vlogging. If you're moving a little bit back, showing a little bit of the background, that's what people want to see. And that's why when we're going to recommend actual models, we're going to recommend with prices with the relevant wide angle lens. So that's where some cameras, like up to now the Sony has been the best in the requirements because it has all of the requirements. But when we move into the lens comparisons, we might lose a little bit of advantage points from Sony. So let's look at the cameras that we're going to talk about. It's the Canon 200D, or internationally known as the SL2, and this is only 453 grams. It's a DSLR. We're starting with that. It's a 24.2 megapixel APS-C sensor. It's got 1080p 60 fps and it's got 720p 120 fps. And it's got a full articulated screen, that means a flip side screen, don't get confused with the lingo. And the touch screen is 3 inches. It's also touch screen, which means touch AF is there. It's one of the other smaller features that comes in handy in a vlogging camera. You just touch your face and it's in focus, one of the easiest things to use. Canon is very beginner friendly. The menus are easy to figure out for beginners, and it does have the dual pixel AF, which means fast and reliable autofocus. The negatives are it doesn't shoot 4K, it doesn't shoot 120 fps slow motion, and Canons have a hissy preamp, which means your audio quality, even if you're using a mic, won't be as good as some of the competition, and doesn't have stabilization. Now the advantages I've already talked about. When you're looking at the price, it's one of the other advantages. The body is currently around, I'd say $550-$600, close to something like that, maybe a little less. Put the prices on screen. In India the prices are 36,000 for the body, and lens is 18,000 only. That is the Canon 10 to 18, and that lens is stabilized, so that's good news for you. And it's 54,000 total for the lens plus the wide lens and the body. That's the cheapest combo out here, and it's one of the best cameras I recommend to people who are starting on a budget. Just add a Rode Video Micro to your setup and you're ready to vlog. Now the second camera, we're looking into Canon mirrorless. The body here is 48,000, which means around 12,000 more, and then you get 4K 24 FPS, but that has a 1.7 crop factor. Basically for layman people, it's 4K is unusable. 1080 60 FPS, 720 120 FPS. So you're probably thinking that it's the same camera, so why should I pay more? It has got electronic image stabilization, which the other camera doesn't have, the 200D. So that's one thing. The 250D has come up, which is still a DSLR. It's a little expensive, upgrading from the 200D, and it has 4K and a little bit better features. You can look into that, but I'd personally prefer just the 200D and spend the rest on lenses. Moving into Sony now. Sony has 4K 30 FPS. This is talking about the a6400 camera. Came out maybe 6-7 months ago. Has been one of the top vlogging camera, video camera choices. It has a 4K 30 FPS, 1.2 crop factor, but still very usable. 4K 24 FPS, no crop. 1080 comes in 120 FPS slow motion, 60 FPS as well as 30 FPS. So that's easy thing to think about. You have a fast 425 AF autofocus points, face detection, quick and reliable autofocus. It has a flip up screen, not a flip side screen. Now having a flip up screen blocks the mic, but there is a quick fix to that. You can just add the mic on an L bracket towards the side. Lots of vloggers been doing that. What I personally think is a flip up screen is better after you add the L bracket, because while you're looking, if your flip up screens on the side, you're looking at the side screen, that looks odd. But if you're looking at the top, the flip up screen, you don't really realize that the vlogger's looking up at the screen and just checking it a little bit. So I think after adding that side mount for the mic, flip up is better. Negatives of going into the Sony body: no stabilization on the a6400, and the body is obviously expensive. The prices are currently $900 or 67,000 Indian rupees, and the lens is around $800 extra. So that makes a $1,700 total package for the wide lens with the 10 to 18 Sony equivalent. But the Sony's advantage is its kit lens is 16 to 50 millimeters, and 16 on a APS-C body is like a 24 on a full frame. If you don't understand that, just understand that 24 is, or 16 on a APS-C body is usable for vlogging. It won't be as wide as the Canon's 10 to 18, but it will still be showing enough from your shoulders, your head, and a little bit of background's gonna be there. A lot of people vlog with the 16, so it's not gonna be very difficult to vlog with that kit lens, but it's still not going to be that glorious wide angle until and unless you spend that $800 extra to get that super wide angle lens. So that makes the Sony's biggest problem, that that look that you're getting on Canon with the wide lens will cost you $1,700 to get on the Sony body. If you get with the kit lens, it's 78,000 rupees in India, or just $1,000 in the US. The negatives are there's no stabilization, and I already talked about the prices. Now, if you want stabilization and a bit more extra features like IAF and video, they've recently released the Sony's a6600, which is $500 extra. In India it will be 1 lakh for the body. I think it's overpriced and I would not go for it. But if you really want something with a bigger battery life and the best APS-C camera for vlogging, that must be it. It adds stabilization, better battery life, and like I said, IAF for video, but it's $500 extra. I would prefer having a gimbal for that price, like the DJI Ronin SC or a Sigma 16mm f1.4 lens. We will talk about another camera which is completely out of the box, which is the GoPro Hero 7. It doesn't have any zoom, it doesn't have that much good of an image quality, but it does have 4K 60 FPS. It has amazing stabilization, 1080 up to 240 FPS. The image quality and low light performance is not going to be good, but a lot of vloggers like to have this GoPro as their secondary vlogging camera, especially since the GoPro Hero 7's audio is workable and usable, because there's gonna be a lot of times when you won't have the time or the opportunity to take out your big camera rig setup and maybe set it up for the shot. But with the GoPro, it's waterproof, it's really usable, you can hold it out in almost any situation and take a shot which you otherwise might have missed with the other cameras. So if you're looking for a B cam, I definitely recommend the GoPro Hero 7 Black, not the other versions, the Hero 7 Black as your B cam for your vlogging. Now if you're looking into Panasonic world, there's the G85 and it's around $700 for the body, with around $650 for the wide 7 to 14mm lens. So that's going to be $1,350 for the setup. It's one of the good setups. It has got the best stabilization, it's lightweight, it's got 1080 120 4K 30, but again the AF is not that reliable, so Panasonic's been working on it, but it's still not that good. Apart from vlogging, what I do is I do a few event photography. It helps me earn a little bit extra, because YouTube, as you know, doesn't pay much, but YouTube's a very expensive place to be and you spend a lot on gears and stuff, and if you have another income, then you can keep this channel going as a vlogging channel or whatever channel you are. If you buy the Sony a7 III as a vlogging camera, it doesn't have a flip screen, so basically I'm doing guesswork here. You can sync it to your phone and see it, use that as a monitor when it's on a tripod. That's one option. And for a7 III, the best option would be to buy the Tamron at 2875 for your standard cinematography work. I'm talking about budget. There's a lot of expensive lenses, not going to talk about that, but startup budget. And a vlogging lens for the a7 III is going to be their newly launched Tamron 1728, which complements 2875 f2.8. So that lens is going to give you some really good wide backgrounds. For on a full frame 17 is going to be really wide, not on an APS-C. So if you're using this one camera to do cinematography, photography plus some vlogging, then maybe vlogging out of full frame camera is not a bad idea. It's heavy, it's gonna tire out your arms, so you're gonna plan your shots, keep it on a tripod whenever it's possible, but it's still doable. And the image quality that you get out of a full frame, the low light performance and the audio quality, because it has expensive preamps, it's just mesmerizing. So if you are that kind of a guy who really cares about the quality, maybe going full frame for vlogging is not a bad idea, but it's gonna affect most people's budget. But if you're gonna make some money doing some photography work on the side, then probably you can afford it. So that's it. That's the full vlogging camera guide. I'm going to start sponsor systems. If you look down below, there might be a join option. You can join my channel, and if you join in the creative package, then I can help you personally to grow your channel, your Instagram accounts and all of that. But even if you don't, it's quite all right. You can still post in your comments. I'll try to be as helpful as I possibly can. You can like this video, you can share it with your vlogging friend who's probably starting up his channel, might find this video very useful. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on my next video. This is Rahul. Goodbye.